right, so let's start. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Me.
This is new. All right. Okay. So.
Okay, my name is Dick Murtha, and I'm sitting here in my son's apartment.
All right. Yeah. So I'm interested for you. Like, what year did you join the Marine Corps? Right. I saw the big knife.
1966.
And were you enlisted in there, or did you join yourself?
I joined.
So what was one of those motivating factors to make you join the Marine Corps?
Too many John Wayne movies.
Those are good. Those are great movies. So how was your experience in Vietnam?
Well, it was, I'd use the word interesting, but you would have a number of varying experiences while there.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're doing.
And what was just specifically were you kind of doing? Were you just the Marines? Were just kind of?
I was a rifleman
Mm-hmm.
in the Marine Corps. All right. So I was so-called grunt, ground troop.
Yeah.
Right. And we did what we were told to do, and followed the orders. And that basically was that. I started out in a place called Phu, which was a fairly large Marine base in South Vietnam. I landed in Da Nang, and we flew north to Phu.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. While at Phu, we went out and did a number of ambushes and other things. We went one time down south of Phu to a location where there was a CAC group.
CAC as in?
CAC is a combined action company. That means a company of Marines living in a Vietnamese village. Okay. And they were there to assist the Vietnamese people and go out on ambushes and attempt to stop any Viet Cong infiltrators. At the time, they had their rice harvest. And the Viet Cong in the area were trying to come in and take the young men away. A, to prevent the successful rice harvest, and B, to increase their band. So the Marines were there to prevent that kind of stuff. When we went down, we went on ambushes with a couple of Marines from that CAC group and from our group and several of the Vietnamese people that were assisting us. So I did that a few times, and I had my first kill there. So that was that. After that, we were sent north to a place called Carson. Carson was in the northernmost portion of South Vietnam to the west. It was about a mile south of North Vietnam, and 4 kilometers to the east of Laos. We went there in June of '67. And in May and April of '67, Marines were sent in there because there were North Vietnamese in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And that was called the Hill Fights. That was the first armed conflict at Carson. And I have friends that served there. One of my good friends was awarded the Navy Cross for his activity there. Anyway, we came up in June. We were not told anything about the hill fights.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we didn't know anything about what was going on there. So. And we set up tents, and we walked into the bush, and we walked up Hill 861 and Hill 881 and down the hills, etc. Mm-hmm. I ripped the shit out of my pants coming down the hill, and we were out without underwear, so
just hanging loose.
So Jack is a gift. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so basically, we did our thing at Carson, and in September, we were given orders to go north up to the DMZ. There was a Marine outpost there called Con Tien. Okay? It was just south of DMZ.
Okay.
So we were sent up there because the Major General learned that the North Vietnamese were planning to cut off the communications route to Con Tien and then attack them. We were not told that where we were going was where the 812th regiments of the North Vietnamese Army had their base camp. Right?
Yeah.
So 326, 3rd Battalion, 26 Marines went up there. 4 companies. Okay. Starting on September 7th, we arrived there, I guess, September 6th. September 7th, we had a fair bit of firefights. And a number of guys were killed, a number of guys were wounded. On the 8th, we took them out to the main highway where we came in. So the bodies could be taken away and the wounded could be taken to a location to be looked after medically. We set up a 360 around where we were. I was at the top of the 360. And at one point in time, I saw a rocket coming my way. And I jumped up, turned around and ran and said, "Incoming, incoming, incoming." And on my 3rd jump up the ground, I got hit with shrapnel in the head. So basically, I was told a corpsman came and blood was all over. So he patched up my head and so told me to go down to a truck, which was where other injured guys were, and they were going to be taken in.
Yeah.
So I saw a few of my friends. One of the guys was a very good-looking fellow. Had a piece of shrapnel right through his face. Another guy lost a foot. And I said, fuck this. I'm going back to the boys.
Yeah.
So basically, we went back and found another place. And we were there. That night it was relatively quiet. The next day was September 10th, 1967. And that night we were hit very heavily. And before I went in there, my head was pounding. So I went up the road a little bit to see the corpsman. And I said, "Corpsman, take a look at this." He looked at my head and he said, "Okay, Dick, just keep it covered for a couple of days, you'll be all right." "Thanks, Doc." I took 2 steps back and turned to my left because I wanted to get back and get my gear and my rifle. All of a sudden I heard an artillery round come in. I hit the deck. And there was shrapnel on my left and on my right. The corpsman was killed. I went back to see how he was. He had no head. So I get back to my hole, which I had filled in, got my gear and my rifle and ran around to find my squad. I found them. They said, "Dick, we're too crowded in here. Keep going." So I kept going, and I found another guy I knew from New York, and I jumped in a hole next to him. So I was there with him until about 11 o'clock or so. And we had a cleaning rod. A cleaning rod was something the M16 had.
Yeah.
It put it together. If you have a round that is stuck in the chamber, you put the cleaning rod down to clear it out. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of the guys been having problems with the cleaning rods.
Yeah.
And I did not want to have problems with a cleaning rod. I did not want to get shot
Fixing your gun.
fixing my rifle. So, I put a, whatchamacallit, bayonet on the end of my rifle. I got up and ran down the road towards the NVA. One guy had a rifle pointing at me, and I stuck him in the solar plexus and killed him. There were 3 other guys that I killed as well. I had my 2nd degree black belt at that time. I got it a month before I went into the Marine Corps. Anyway, I killed 4 guys, and I ran back to my unit. Tony Roselli thought everybody had pulled back and we were out too far, so we went back up, ran back up, calling out, "Don't shoot Marines, don't shoot Marines." Anyway, we got another location. I was in a hole by myself. Anyway, must have been midnight or so, and I saw some movement out front. Then it looked like a human being, so I shot out twice. And this guy fell to his knees and said, Tai Sao. I ran around the bush and I blew his brains out because I didn't want to have a Chi-Con thrown in on me. I found out the next day from the interpreter that Tai Sao meant why. Anyway, the next morning we were walking around to see how things went. About 45 yards from where I was, we came across my squad. They were all dead. The guys that told me there was not enough room for me were all killed. Anyway, we put those bodies in body bags. And then left. And we went back, and we were underground, and we got in a circle, and we all cried. We lost 59 guys killed, and 262 wounded. Okay? In 3 days. Anyway, we got in a truck, several trucks, and one of the captains heard on the radio North Vietnamese saying, "Goodbye, 326." So we went to a place called Camp Evans. Camp Evans was named after a Marine who died in December of '66. The first Marine from Lima Company, 326, to die. And he was a football player, 6'5", from North Dakota. Anyway, we were back in Camp Evans for a few months, maybe 2.5 months, regrouping. I switched from Kilo Company to Lima Company. And we eventually got word in December that we were going north again, back to Carson. Okay? Because they learned that the North Vietnamese had, I think it was 40,000 North Vietnamese soldiers coming there. So there were 6,000 Marines there, surrounded by 40,000 North Vietnamese soldiers for 77 days. We were hit with artillery every day. And General, what's his name? Westmoreland, who was known as Westy, increased air power. And we had more air power, bombs dropping with B-52 weapons and everything else than any other place in any war, including World War II. Okay? At Carson. All that shit happened. Basically, we were there, and we got through it all, and I flew out on March 15th, 1968, and I went to Da Nang. And I was told Da Nang that I wouldn't be leaving until the 21st. So I went to China Beach, which was a rest place. You go to China Beach, you get a rack and a locker, beer and the beach. Drink a few, go in the water, come back. Drink a few, go in the water, come back. And basically that's what I did until I went home. And I have become friends with several of the guys I served with in Vietnam. I tracked down our company commander after 50 years. And George Chaconis, his name is, he lives in Washington, D.C. We've been to his home, and we've been to Las Vegas with him. And my friend Pat Conway basically went to Harvard. So he left the Marine Corps, went back to Harvard, and he was on the Harvard football team. And in, I think it was November 28th, 1968, Harvard was in first place in the Ivy League. So was Yale. So Harvard played Yale, and Harvard won. Pat was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in their second round, but he went to Harvard Business School instead. So he's my friend. He's living in Scottsdale, Arizona. We were together in Washington for our 50th anniversary, and we were together in Los Angeles, Las Vegas, sometime after that. Basically, I just had a good friend of mine, Marshall Jesperson. We called him Jess. Jess lives in California. Jess won the Silver Star. And we're good friends. Anyway, that is the story that I can tell you about my involvement. I can say that right around the time I left Carson, General Westmoreland put together an operation using the U.S. Army coming up to Carson and with the Marines getting rid of the North Vietnamese. The increased air power was called Operation Niagara. And basically, that's the story there. My book is about what I have just told you. And I had a couple of clients who were in the motion picture business.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was nominated for 9 Oscars.
Wow.
Anyway, I talked to him and I said, look, I want a movie, you owe me. Because there's never been a movie about Carson. And Carson was the longest and one of the deadliest fights in the Vietnam War. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
I'm invested. I want to see a movie. That's wow. There's that. That's wow, I can't. I'm speechless. Thank you.
There's a lot of shit happening there, and on February 25th, 1968, the Marines, Bravo, 1st Battalion, 26 Marines, they were getting mortars in on their position, so their captain wanted to send out a patrol to find out where the mortars were coming from and attempt to get rid of them. So he sent out this patrol. There were 41 guys. And how old are you?
17.
He's 21. The company commander was 20 years old. The youngest Marine Corps lieutenant. He took them out. And basically, they were out there and they saw 2 North Vietnamese soldiers. And they shot at them, but they missed them. They ran off. So he wanted to go and capture one. So he told this fellow, I know, who was a squad leader, take a fire team out and chase them in. And he said, no way, sir. That's an ambush. So he was removed as squad leader. And then he said to the fire team leader, that's 4 guys, you go. No, sir, it's an ambush. And he said, fuck it. He raised his .45 and said, let's go. So they ran in. It was a terrible ambush. 28 guys died, and including the lieutenant. They were not able to bring back the bodies. The bodies were out there from February 25th till April 9th. And it was known as the Ghost Patrol. Okay? So that's what happened on February 25th, 1968 at Carson, 5 days after my birthday. I was on a listening post on my birthday with 2 other guys out in front of the lines. And basically, before we came in, a number of artillery rounds came in. And when I got back to my hole, it was full of shrapnel and a big hole behind it. So I was lucky to be on a fucking outpost. Anyway, things like that happen, you know.
Yeah.
So everything is fine in Jason, but you never know what the fuck's gonna take place. Anyway, that was that. Anyway, there are a number of instances that happened, and things here and things there and all that shit. However, everything worked out okay. Am I finished?
You're done? That was amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I've never heard anything like that before.
What?
That's all, like, yeah, that's awesome. 'Cause, like, you see that type of thing in movies, right? Like you see like Full Metal Jacket or like Hamburger Hill, like movies about Vietnam, and it just isn't as
Full Metal Jacket. Interesting.
yeah.
I mentioned that in my book because the guys in Full Metal Jacket went to Vietnam, and they were there around the time I was there. Okay. None of them had problems with the M16.
Yeah.
Okay? And people
Listen.
that had problems with the M16 did not know anything about the problems. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
What happens, I mentioned the hill fights. One of the guys in the hill fights wrote a letter home to his mother and father and told them how bad the weapons were. A number of people were dying as a result. A lieutenant wrote stating all the people that were dying because of the breakdowns of the rifles, etc. Anyway, the parents sent the letter to Congress, to the congressman for the district. The congressman for the district read the letter in Congress. As a result, they put a committee together. And a congressman from Missouri was chairman of the committee. They went to Vietnam, spent 10 days there and interviewed a number of people. Then came back and October of I think it was 1967, because the hill fights were in April and May. I think it was October of 67 that the congressman went over to Vietnam in June of 67. So he sent a report back to Congress, and in item, I don't remember it all, I think it's item 8, he said that the Army, guys that got the M16 rifles, were aware of the problems, but they allowed them to pass without getting corrected. In addition, the fellow that invented the weapon, the guy whose last name was Stoner, stated that the MDR bullet went with the weapon. That's an improved
Casing
bullet,
and all that.
whatever.
Yeah.
But the Army had a number of older bullets left from World War II, and that is what they used in the weapon. And that got heated up and caused the problems. Marines in higher up places were saying that it was the problem of the Marine not keeping the weapon clean. That was not the final problem. In my book, I expose all this.
Mm-hmm.
I contacted a secretary at the Library of the U.S. Senate, and she sent me documents from that time. So I have the actual documents.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was never a lawsuit, and lawsuits have a particular time period, which is a statutory limit. However, many people suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. And post-traumatic stress disorder, as a result of a problem with your weapon, etc., would extend a limitation period. So there should have been a lawsuit. There was never a lawsuit. Anyway, I'm finished. Time to go home.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Can you do it, like, is it way too late for the lawsuit now, even with the PTSD? Is it way out of...
Well, you have to have somebody complain.
Yeah.
And you'd have to get together
It's just too many people.
a class action.
Yeah.
All right? And basically, if I were doing it, I'd do the fucking thing.
Yeah.
I'm not. So I'm just going home. Fuck it. Anyway.
That's it. Perfect.
Thanks very much for your time.